Hey there, productivity warriors and professional putter-offers. Ever find yourself staring at a to-do list that looks more like a to-don't list? Do you get lost in the labyrinth of your own mind, promising yourself you'll start that important task right after just one more cat video? Yeah, we've all been there. It's like our brains have a secret club dedicated to avoiding anything remotely resembling actual work. What if I told you that some ancient philosophers, who rocked togas and probably didn't even have Wi-Fi, had some killer insights into kicking procrastination to the curb? I'm talking about the Stoics, the OG life hackers. And no, it's not all about grim faces and denying yourself joy. These guys were seriously onto something. So buckle up, buttercups, because today we're diving into the top 10 Stoic hacks for dealing with procrastination. Get ready to trade those endless later promises for some serious now action. Let's get stoically productive. Hack number 1, the dichotomy of control, or chill out about what you can't control, dude. All right, first up on our Stoic hit parade is a big one. The dichotomy of control. Sounds fancy, right? But it's actually super simple and incredibly powerful. Imagine you're trying to get a project done, and you're freaking out about whether your boss will like it, if your teammates will pull their weight, or if the universe will conspire against you with a sudden alien invasion that derails everything. Hey, you never know. Here's the Stoic mic drop. You can only control your own actions, efforts, and attitudes. That's it. Everything else, outside your control. And guess what? Worrying about stuff outside your control is like trying to herd cats in a hurricane. Utterly pointless and exhausting. Think about it this way. You can control how much effort you put into that report. You can control how well you research it, how clearly you write it, and how much time you dedicate to it. But can you control if your boss is having a bad day and decides to nitpick everything? Nope. Can you control if a sudden power outage deletes your unsaved work? Always save, folks, always. Also, nope. So, the Stoic hack here is to laser focus your energy on what you can control. When you find yourself dragging your feet because you're overwhelmed by external factors, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this within my sphere of influence? If not, acknowledge it, let it go, and pivot back to what you can do. Let's say you're procrastinating on studying for an exam. You're worried about how hard the test will be, what tricky questions the professor might ask, or if your roommate's incessant snoring will ruin your sleep tonight. All valid concerns, perhaps, but totally outside your control in this moment. What is in your control? Your study schedule, the intensity of your focus, the notes you take, the practice questions you do, the decision to put on noise-canceling headphones when you shift your mindset from, oh no, what if X happens, to, what can I do right now to move forward? Suddenly, that mountain of a task becomes a series of manageable steps. It's like this. If you're trying to bake a cake, you can control the ingredients you use, how accurately you measure them, and how long you bake it. But you can't control if your Aunt Mildred suddenly develops an allergy to gluten right before the party, rendering your perfect cake inedible to her. So, why waste energy stressing about Aunt Mildred's potential dietary shifts when you could be perfecting your frosting? This hack is about liberating yourself from the mental shackles of the uncontrollable. It frees up so much cognitive bandwidth that you were previously wasting on worry and hypothetical doom scrolling. Once you genuinely internalize this, procrastination stemming from anxiety about outcomes that aren't yours to dictate just starts to melt away. You realize, my job is to do my best with what I have, where I am. The rest is just noise. And suddenly, getting started feels a whole lot lighter. It's a mental decluttering, if you will. And trust me, your brain will thank you for the extra space. Hack number 2. Amor Fati, or love your fate, even when it's a giant pain in the neck. Alright, hack number 2 is a real mind-bender, but oh so effective, Amor Fati. It translates to love your fate. Now, before you start picturing me telling you to hug your tax forms or serenade your overflowing laundry basket, let me explain. Amor Fati isn't about being a masochist or pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows when it's clearly a torrential downpour. It's about accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it were, and then finding a way to not just tolerate it, but to actually embrace it and work with it. Think of it like this. Procrastination often happens because we resist a task. We resent it. We think, ugh, I have to do this. Or, this is so boring. Or, why me? Amor Fati flips that script. Instead of fighting the task, you lean into it. You tell yourself, this is the task before me right now. This is part of my journey, and I'm going to tackle it with everything I've got. Let's use a classic example. Cleaning your apartment. You've been putting it off for weeks. Your socks are staging a coup, and dust bunnies are forming their own tiny civilizations. You dread it. With Amor Fati, instead of dread, you'd approach it with a different mindset. All right, apartment, you're a mess. And that's okay. This is my reality today, and I choose to embrace the act of cleaning you. I'm going to put on some good music, and I'm going to make this space shine because it's my space, and I choose to make it better. It's about transforming a have to into a get to, or at the very least, a choose to. When you love your fate, you don't just endure the difficult tasks, you see them as opportunities. An opportunity to develop discipline, to hone a skill, to create something, or simply to get something annoying out of the way so you can move on to things you genuinely enjoy. Consider a writer facing writer's block. They're staring at a blank page, filled with self-doubt and the overwhelming pressure to produce something brilliant. The procrastination kicks in because they're resisting the current fate of the blank page and the struggle. Amor Fati would say, this blank page, this struggle, this moment of creative friction, this is my fate right now. This is where growth happens. I will not fight it. I will embrace the challenge of finding the words, even if they're not perfect at first. I will love the process of creation, even when it's messy. It's a subtle but profound shift. Resistance breeds paralysis, acceptance, and even love for the current reality, however inconvenient or challenging, fuels action. It's not about being happy about the situation, but accepting it completely and then operating within that acceptance to make the most of it. So, next time you're facing a task you just want to run from, try a little Amor Fati. Give that task a mental hug and say, all right, you're here. Let's do this. You might be surprised how much easier it becomes to get started. Hack number 3, Memento Mori, or remember you're gonna die. In a good way, we swear. Okay, this next one might sound a little morbid, but stick with me, because Memento Mori, which means remember you must die, is one of the most powerful anti-procrastination tools in the Stoic arsenal. No, we're not trying to scare you into productivity, although a little healthy existential dread can be a great motivator. The Stoics didn't dwell on death in a gloomy, depressing way. Instead, they used the awareness of their own mortality as a potent reminder to live fully, act purposefully, and, crucially for our topic, to not waste time. Because let's face it, folks, none of us are getting out of here alive. Your time is a finite, precious resource, and every moment you spend scrolling mindlessly or staring at a ceiling when you know you should be doing something important is a moment you can never get back. When you're procrastinating, it's often because you're operating under the subconscious assumption that you have limitless time. "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow," you tell yourself, or next week, or next month. But what if tomorrow never comes? What if you run out of next weeks? Memento Mori isn't about rushing frantically through life. It's about injecting a sense of urgency and importance into your present actions. It helps you prioritize. If you truly understood that your time is limited, would you really spend hours reorganizing your sock drawer when you have a passion project gathering dust? Would you really put off that difficult conversation when life is so fragile? Probably not. Think of it like this. If you knew you only had a certain number of cookies left in the jar, would you just let them sit there until they got stale? Or would you savor each one? Your moments are those cookies. So, when you're feeling the pull of procrastination, take a moment. Don't get dramatic, just a quiet reflection. Is this how I want to spend my irreplaceable time? If I knew this was my last day, would I be doing this? It sharpens your focus. It reminds you that the now is all you truly have. That report you're avoiding? It's not just a report. It's a moment of your finite life you're choosing to spend. Choose to spend it purposefully. Seneca, one of the rockstar Stoics, famously said, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." He wasn't wrong. Every time you push something off, you're essentially stealing time from your future self. And your future self probably has better things to do than clean up your present self's mess. This hack isn't meant to cause anxiety, but to cultivate a profound appreciation for the present and to motivate you to seize it. It transforms procrastination from a harmless habit into a serious waste of your most valuable asset. So, next time you're about to put something off, just whisper to yourself, "Memento Mori." It might just be the kick in the pants you need to get things done and live a life you won't regret. We're already 3 hacks deep, and hopefully, your procrastination monster is starting to look a little less terrifying. We've talked about controlling what you can, loving your current challenges, and even getting a healthy dose of mortality check. But trust me, we're just scratching the surface. The Stoics had even more tricks up their toga sleeves. Hack number 4, premeditatio malorum, or worry about the worst so you can conquer the rest. All right, buckle up, buttercups, because this next hack sounds counterintuitive, but it's pure Stoic genius. It's called premeditatio malorum, which roughly translates to premeditation of evils, or anticipation of adversity. Now, before you think I'm telling you to become a full-time doomsayer, hear me out. The Stoics weren't masochists who loved to dwell on terrible things. Instead, they practiced this mental exercise to immunize themselves against future shocks and to reduce the paralyzing fear of failure or difficulty that often fuels procrastination. Here's how it works. When you're facing a big task, a challenging project, or even just something you really don't want to do, instead of pushing the negative thoughts away, which just makes them stronger, right? You actively sit down and consider all the ways things could go wrong. And I mean all the ways. What's the absolute worst-case scenario if I start this project? What if I fail miserably? What if I look stupid? What if my computer crashes? What if I get stuck and can't figure it out? You play out these scenarios in your mind, in vivid, glorious detail. The key here is not to wallow in despair, but to critically examine each potential evil. You'll often find that the absolute worst-case scenario isn't actually that catastrophic. Or, even better, you might realize that you could totally handle it. Let's say you're procrastinating on giving a big presentation. Your brain is conjuring all sorts of horrors, forgetting your lines, the projector dying, tripping on your way to the stage, spilling coffee on your notes, the audience falling asleep. With premeditatio malorum, you'd systematically go through them. Forgetting lines? Okay, I'll bring cue cards, and I'll practice enough that even if I glance, I'll remember the flow. And if I completely freeze, I can just take a deep breath, apologize, and refer to my notes. Projector dying? All right, I'll have printouts as a backup, and I'll prepare to speak confidently even without visuals. Maybe I'll even have a backup plan of drawing things on a whiteboard just in case. Tripping? Well, that would be embarrassing, but I'd just get up, maybe make a self-deprecating joke, and move on. It's not the end of the world. Audience falling asleep? Okay, maybe my content isn't super engaging, or I'm speaking too monotonously. I can work on making my delivery more dynamic, adding humor, and asking questions to keep them involved. But even if they do, it probably means they had a long day. Not that I'm a terrible person. What happens when you do this? Two amazing things. 1. Reduced fear. The vague, nebulous fear of the unknown is often much more paralyzing than facing concrete potential problems. Once you've thought through the worst, it often doesn't seem so bad, and the fear of getting started dissipates. You've essentially pre-grieved or pre-solved the issues. 2. Preparedness. You identify actual, actionable steps you can take to mitigate risks. This moves you from a state of paralyzed anxiety to proactive problem solving. This hack is like mental strength training. You flex your resilience muscles by imagining challenges. So when they, or smaller versions of them, inevitably arise, you're not caught off guard. You've already considered them, and you have a plan. It's a fantastic way to stop that anxious what-if loop that keeps you from ever pressing start on anything important. So, instead of dreading, try dwelling, just for a bit, on the worst case. And then you'll realize just how capable you are of handling it. Hack number 5, negative visualization, or imagine life without it and get grateful. Sticking with our slightly intense but ultimately empowering Stoic theme, let's talk about negative visualization. Now, this isn't about being a pessimist who always sees the glass half empty. Quite the opposite. It's about appreciating what you have and motivating yourself to protect it, improve it, and utilize it now, before it's gone. Procrastination often stems from taking things for granted. We take our health for granted, our opportunities for granted, our relationships for granted, and even the very tools and resources we have at our disposal for granted. We assume they'll always be there, so there's no rush, right? Wrong. Negative visualization is the practice of imagining losing something you currently possess and value. It could be your job, your computer, your internet connection, your health, a friendship, or even just the time and energy you have available today. Let's say you're procrastinating on a project that requires a specific skill or piece of software. You know you need to get it done, but you keep putting it off, figuring you have plenty of time and access to the resources. A Stoic might pause and engage in negative visualization. What if my computer suddenly crashed and I lost all my files? What if the software subscription expired and I couldn't afford to renew it? What if I suddenly lost the cognitive ability to perform this task due to illness? It's not about making yourself miserable. It's about sparking a sense of urgency and gratitude. When you imagine losing something, you suddenly become acutely aware of its value. That feeling of potential loss can be a massive kick in the pants to stop procrastinating and act while you still have the opportunity. Consider an athlete who's slacking on their training. They know they need to practice, but they'd rather chill. Through negative visualization, they might imagine, what if I got injured and could never compete again? What if I lost the opportunity to be on the team? What if my physical abilities deteriorated to the point where I couldn't perform anymore? This isn't meant to make them feel bad. It's meant to make them appreciate their current health and ability, and motivate them to utilize it to the fullest. This hack forces you to confront the impermanence of things. It makes you realize that every opportunity, every resource, every moment is a gift that could be taken away. When you truly grasp that, the urge to squander it through procrastination dwindles. Instead, you're filled with a desire to make the most of what you have, right now. It's a powerful way to inject gratitude and purpose into your daily actions, turning "I'll do it later" into "I must do it now, while I can, and I'm grateful for the chance." So, take a moment. Imagine something precious is gone, and then watch how quickly your appreciation and your motivation comes rushing back. All right, you magnificent, procrastinating Stoic in training. How are we doing so far? Feeling a little less bogged down by that ever-growing to-do list? We've explored some seriously heavy-hitting Stoic wisdom, turning fear, dread, and complacency into powerful motivators. But wait, there's more. The Stoics had a treasure trove of practical advice, and we're only halfway through our top 10. So let's dive back in and discover even more ways to hack your brain and get things done. Hack number 6. The obstacle is the way, or embrace the block, it's your gym. Hack number 6 is a personal favorite, and it's practically a mantra for overcoming procrastination. The obstacle is the way. This gem, popularized by modern Stoic authors, perfectly encapsulates an ancient Stoic principle. What stands in your way becomes the way. When we procrastinate, it's often because we perceive a task as an obstacle. It's too hard, too boring, too complex, too demanding. Our brains see this obstacle and go, "Nope, not today, Satan," and send us scurrying to the nearest distraction. The Stoic approach flips this. Instead of seeing the obstacle as a reason to stop, you see it as the opportunity to act. It's the very thing that will train you, strengthen you, and reveal your path forward. Think of it like working out. The resistance of the weights isn't the enemy. It's what builds your muscle. If there were no resistance, you'd never get stronger. In the same way, the difficulty of a task isn't a sign to quit. It's a signal that this is where your growth lies. Let's say you're procrastinating on learning a new, complicated software for your job. It feels like a massive, impenetrable wall of buttons and menus. The obstacle is its complexity. Applying the obstacle is the way. Instead of avoiding it, you embrace that complexity. You tell yourself, "Okay, this software is complex, and that's good. This complexity is exactly what will force me to learn, to be patient, to break it down into smaller steps, and to develop a new skill." The difficulty is the lesson. This mindset transforms perceived threats into challenges, and challenges into opportunities for growth. Procrastination often vanishes when you stop seeing the task as a burden and start seeing it as a crucible for your own development. Marcus Aurelius, arguably the most famous Stoic emperor, put it this way: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't just waxing poetic. He was leading an empire and dealing with daily crises. He knew that every problem was just a disguised opportunity to practice his Stoic virtues, like patience, courage, and wisdom. So, next time you're facing that project that feels like a mountain, remember, the mountain isn't there to stop you. It's there to provide you with a path to climb, a chance to grow stronger, and a magnificent view once you conquer it. Embrace the difficulty, because it truly is your way forward. Hack number 7. Practice voluntary discomfort. Or, take a cold shower for your soul. Alright, this next Stoic hack is a bit spicy, but trust me, it builds serious resilience against procrastination. It's called voluntary discomfort. No, I'm not telling you to sleep on a bed of nails, unless you're into that, no judgment. It's about deliberately choosing to do uncomfortable things, even small ones, to toughen up your mental fortitude. Procrastination often happens because we're constantly seeking comfort and ease. We avoid tasks that feel difficult, boring, or just plain unpleasant. Our modern world is designed to make us comfortable. which ironically makes us soft and less able to handle genuine discomfort when it arises. The Stoics, on the other hand, understood the power of resilience. They'd do things like eat plain food when they could afford lavish meals, wear simple clothes, or even take cold baths. Not because they had to, but because they chose to. How does this help with procrastination? By regularly exposing yourself to voluntary discomfort, you train your brain to stop running from unpleasantness. You teach yourself that uncomfortable doesn't mean unbearable. It means an opportunity to grow. Think of it as mental push-ups. When you regularly do things like taking a cold shower for a minute or two, a classic, skipping that extra sugary snack you really want, choosing to walk or bike instead of drive, waking up a little earlier than you need to, doing the most dreaded task on your list first. You're building a muscle. This muscle makes it easier to tackle that boring report, make that difficult phone call, or start that tough workout, because you've already proven to yourself that you can handle a little bit of discomfort. When you've just endured a cold shower, suddenly that slightly boring spreadsheet doesn't seem quite so daunting. Your brain thinks, well, I just voluntarily froze myself for a minute. I can certainly focus on these numbers. It's about showing yourself that you are the master of your comfort zones, not their prisoner. It breaks the cycle of constantly seeking the path of least resistance. When you actively choose discomfort, you build discipline and resilience, making you far less susceptible to the siren song of procrastination. So, next time, instead of always reaching for the easy button, try embracing a tiny bit of voluntary discomfort. You might just find yourself tackling those procrastinated tasks with newfound vigor. Hack number 8. Practice apatheia. Or, don't let your feelings boss you around. Moving on to hack number 8. Apatheia. Now, before you think I'm telling you to become a robot devoid of emotion, let's clarify. In Stoic philosophy, apatheia doesn't mean apathy as we understand it today, like, meh, whatever. It means freedom from disturbing passions or emotions, the ability to remain calm and rational, particularly in the face of adversity. Procrastination is often driven by emotions, the fear of failure, the anxiety of starting, the sheer boredom of a task, or the overwhelming feeling of a large project. We feel a certain way, and then we let that feeling dictate our actions, usually leading us to avoid the discomfort. Apatheia is about recognizing those emotions, but not allowing them to control you. It's acknowledging, okay, I feel overwhelmed right now, or this task seems incredibly boring, but then choosing to act despite those feelings. It's the ultimate fake it till you make it for your emotional state. Think about it. Have you ever felt like doing laundry? Probably not often. But you still do it, right? Because you know it needs to be done. That's a tiny bit of apatheia in action. You don't let the feeling of, laundry stop you from the necessary action. The Stoics knew that feelings are transient. They come and go. If you wait until you feel motivated, you might be waiting forever. Apatheia teaches you that you can decouple your feelings from your actions. You can choose to act ethically, rationally, and productively, even when your internal emotional landscape is a stormy mess. Let's say you're procrastinating on writing an important email. You feel anxious about getting the wording just right, or you dread the potential response. Apatheia would have you acknowledge that anxiety. Okay, I feel nervous about this email. But then, instead of letting that nervousness paralyze you, you'd choose to sit down and write it anyway. You focus on the rational step, writing the email, rather than being consumed by the emotional reaction, anxiety. This hack isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about observing them, understanding their impermanence, and then choosing to align your actions with your values and goals, regardless of how you happen to feel in that moment. It's incredibly empowering to realize that your emotions don't have to be the boss of you. You can still show up, take action, and make progress, even when every fiber of your being is screaming, "Nope!" It's true freedom from the tyranny of your own fleeting feelings. Hack number 9. Live according to nature. Or, be the best human you can be and get stuff done. Our penultimate hack is a profound one. Live according to nature. Now, before you start picturing yourself foraging for berries in the wilderness, unless that's your jam, let's dive into what the Stoics actually meant by this. For the Stoics, nature wasn't just about trees and rivers. It primarily referred to human nature, our unique capacity for reason, logic, and virtue. To live according to nature meant to live according to your highest, most rational self, aligning your actions with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. It meant fulfilling your potential as a rational social being. How does this stop procrastination? Well, procrastination is inherently unnatural in this Stoic sense. It's irrational. It's a failure of temperance, self-control. It's a failure to act courageously in the face of difficulty. It's a failure to wisely manage your time and resources. When you procrastinate, you're essentially acting against your own best interests, against your rational mind, and against your potential. You're letting impulse, comfort, and irrational fears dictate your behavior. This hack encourages you to step back and ask, is this action or inaction consistent with the best version of myself? Am I being rational? Am I acting with courage and discipline? If you're procrastinating on a task that will help you achieve a goal, improve your life, or benefit others, then you're actively choosing to not live according to nature. You're opting for the path of least resistance, which ultimately leads to regret and unfulfilled potential. Let's say you're procrastinating on working out. Your rational self knows it's good for your health, your energy, and your mood. Your impulsive self wants to stay on the couch. Living according to nature means overriding that impulsive self with your rational self. It means you're exercising your reason and discipline to do what you know is good for you. When you frame tasks not just as chores, but as opportunities to embody your highest virtues, to be disciplined, courageous, and wise, suddenly, procrastination loses its appeal. You're not just doing a task, you're living in alignment with your truest, best self. It's a powerful motivator because it taps into a deeper sense of purpose and identity. You're not just avoiding a task, you're avoiding becoming the person you could be. So, strive to be the best human you can be, and watch how much easier it becomes to tackle those challenges head-on. Hack number 10. Practice the Enchiridian's core principle, or small steps, big wins. And finally, for our 10th and final Stoic hack, we're going to pull a core principle from Epictetus's Enchiridion, a sort of Stoic handbook for life. While not a specific named hack, the essence of the Enchiridion for procrastination can be distilled down to: focus on what's immediately in front of you and break things down into the smallest possible actionable steps. Or, as I like to call it, small steps, big wins. Procrastination often kicks in when a task feels overwhelmingly large. We look at the entire mountain we have to climb, get dizzy, and decide a nap sounds better. The Enchiridion teaches us to ground ourselves in the present moment and to focus only on the very next, most manageable step. Epictetus often emphasized that we only have control over our judgments and actions right now. Not the entire project, not the final outcome, just the next thing. So, instead of thinking, I need to write a 10,000-word novel, which could send anyone spiraling into procrastination, you apply this hack. My task right now is to open the document. My task right now is to write one sentence. My task right now is to think of a title. My task right now is to outline the first chapter. You break that behemoth down into tiny, almost ridiculous micro-tasks. The beauty of this is that each micro-task is so small, it feels incredibly easy to start. And once you start and complete that first tiny step, you build momentum. That little win creates a positive feedback loop. It's like dominoes. You don't have to push over the entire line of dominoes at once. You just need to push the first one, and then the next one falls, and the next, until suddenly, the whole line has toppled. This hack is especially powerful because it tackles the initiation barrier, the hardest part of any task. Once you're in motion, staying in motion is much easier. The Stoics understood that true progress comes not from heroic, impossible leaps, but from consistent, rational, and manageable effort applied over time. So, next time you're facing a task that feels too big, don't try to swallow the whole elephant. Just focus on the first, smallest bite. Open the email, write the subject line, read the first paragraph, tie your shoelaces for that run. Just start that first tiny domino and watch as the rest begin to fall into place. Small steps, folks, lead to monumental achievements. Wow. We've journeyed through 10 powerful Stoic hacks, from controlling the controllable to embracing discomfort, and even remembering our mortality to spark urgency. These aren't just ancient philosophies. They're timeless tools to help you conquer procrastination and live a more purposeful, productive life. Remember, becoming a Stoic anti-procrastinator isn't about perfection overnight. It's a practice, a daily choice. Start small, try 1 or 2 of these hacks, and see how they transform your relationship with your to-do list. So, what was your favorite Stoic hack? Are you going to try the cold shower challenge? Or maybe ponder your mortality a little more? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. Share it with a friend who's always going to do it tomorrow. And make sure you're subscribed to our channel for more awesome content that helps you live your best life. Thanks for hanging out, Stoic Squad. Now go forth and conquer those tasks. Your future self will thank you.